Prepping for this video was a literal workout. I'm out of breath. So this video is me rapid firing through all of the books I read this year. Okay, 77. Rapid firing all of these 77 books I read this year. Some of them are on Kindle, so I have to talk about them in spirit. We're gonna go month by month. I'm going in order. I'm gonna do if they were good or not. I'm not really gonna go like in detail about what all of them are. A few little minor details, you know? Rating, if it was worth it, and that's it. Starting with January, I read 7 books in January. First, if you've been with me, 4 out of 5. Cried my eyes out. If you love sappy teenage love that will break your heart in half, 100% love this book. I would reread this book. Rock, Paper, Scissors, I'm not gonna lie to you, all of the thrillers that I read, like in the beginning of the year, kind of mushed together in my mind. But I do love this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5, so pretty high. Alice Feeney, she's amazing. Very good, like wintry read. Takes place, obviously, it's in the snow, and has a bunch of twists and turns. Basically, husband and wife don't get along, and you think one killed the other type of vibe. Perfect Marriage, Geneva Rose, 4.75. I love this book. The female main character was amazing. I loved her. I thought she was funny. She's an attorney, the best in the state or whatever, and caught her husband cheating, but the mistress was found dead in their lake house, so she has to, what's the word? Represent her husband in court, even though he just cheated on her. It's very good. Hidden Pictures, one of my top reads of the year, 5 out of 5 for me. I absolutely loved this book. I ate it up. Very spooky nanny. The nanny's not spooky. The kid like draws scary pictures. I've talked about this book so many times, but it's very good. It has a big plot twist in the end too, but love this book. And don't listen to the audiobook because the pictures are in the book. So it's worth it to read the actual book because it comes with pictures, like actual artwork. First flop of the year, The Fear. This was book club. I did not choose to read this book. Actually, Logan picked this book. Gave this at the time a 1.5, I think, because there was like one character that I kind of liked. I think it was the villain. I literally liked the villain. It was just like some murder in high school. There's a serial killer in high school. I'm pretty sure it was a young kid doing it, and it had to do with like social media and like a rose being posted. I don't know, just not the vibe, not mine. Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I actually gave this one a 3 out of 5. I didn't love, it's very short, and I didn't love the first like 200 pages. They were very slow for me. I think like a girl goes into a coma and she has to recall like what happened, and she hears things while she's in a coma no one thinks they can hear. When she's in the coma, people don't know that she can hear, but she hears everything that's going on and like hears what happened. Like people say things that they should have kept a secret. But anyways, I would say very average read for Alice Feeney at least. Another one of my favorites, Before We Were Strangers. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. I cried so much. This is a second chance romance. It's like college lovers who lose touch. 10 years later, I think, he sees her on the train as it's leaving and then finds her. They reconnect. They rekindle their love. It goes back and forth. It's dual timeline. Amazing. February. Life and Death. Okay, go with me on this. Kind of good. 4 out of 5. I am a big Twilight girly. I love Twilight. It's the Twilight reimagined, so all of the genders basically are swapped. Edward is a girl in here with a different name, obviously, and Bella is a boy named Beau. And it kind of was really good. Kind of worth it, I'm not gonna lie. From the Embers, 4 out of 5. Really took me by surprise. I loved the story. 2 couples having a game night. The house literally blows up. One person from each couple dies, so the other people from the couple have to like help raise their kids together, and it's kind of like a will they won't they, but there was a big twist at the end. It's a very feel-good story of like learning to love and stuff like that, but then there's like huge twists at the end that you just weren't expecting at all. And then I read Twilight. I gave this a 5 out of 5 just because I love Twilight, but like if I were to rate it purely from like a reader standpoint, it probably would be like a 4, 3.75, but it's a 5 out of 5. Team Edward. Another 5 out of 5, which it seems like I give out 5 out of 5s just freely. I don't typically, but 5 out of 5, better than movies. Love this book. Teenage love, romance for the first time, high school, rom-com-y love. That's all I have to say. I guess I was still in my reading Colleen Hoover phase because I have some of hers on here. So I have Hopeless, which I gave a 4 out of 5. Actually, like despite the cover being like icky, kind of like the story. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really remember a whole lot about it. I just remember like an abusive dad, old childhood friends who are grown up now, and they like fall in love. He helps her through her like trauma basically. Housemaid Secret, the first one, was one of my favorite books of last year, and I read this one and it did not hold up to The Housemaid. It was still good, but definitely was not as good as The Housemaid. I gave this one a 3 out of 5. So definitely worth the read if you like The Housemaid, but keep lower hopes. Okay, and then The Good Lie, I gave a 3.5 out of 5. This is one of those thrillers that is basically like every other thriller I've ever read, so it's mush in my brain. I really couldn't tell you. There was a serial killer and some twists, and that's what I got from that. Clearly not memorable. So we're on to March. Started with, I finished my Colleen Hoover. Losing Hope. It's the exact same as Hopeless, just told from the boys' point of view. Anyways, point of view, I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 just because it was the literal exact same story, basically. Like the same convos and everything, and I didn't feel like I needed to read the exact same story again. And then it was a little novella. Actually, Finding Cinderella came first. I actually loved that book. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. It was like way better than I was expecting. I think it's like 50 pages. Loved it. It was about like their friends and a little side romance, and I really liked it. And then Finding Perfect, which in the series I didn't know, but All Your Perfects is in this little like series, and this ties in people from All Your Perfects, and I really liked that book. So this one was actually my favorite, and shockingly I gave it a 5 out of 5. Don't yell at me for 5ing a Colleen Hoover book. I ate this up. It had to do with all of the couples together. It had like a really good literal bow on the story, and it was really good, and it made me cry in like 40 pages. All right, next was a Frida McFadden book. I had Never Lie, which I read on my Kindle. I actually really liked this. It had to do with like a therapist, I believe, unless I'm wrong because I don't have the book with me, so I cannot double check, but I think it had to do with like a couple going to stay at this home, and it was an old therapist's home, and the woman finds old tapes from the therapist's like old sessions, and she's listening to them, and they get like really creepy and dark, and I think they find like something to do with dead bodies and stuff. I don't know. So that one was really good. And then A Thousand Boy Kisses. This one is basically the same in my head as If He Had Been With Me. Sad high school romance that makes me want to tear my heart out. I liked If He Had Been With Me a little bit better just because this couple like fights or something, for if I remember correctly. I think he like moves away for a little bit. I might remember that incorrectly. I still really loved it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 actually, which like kind of surprises me, but at the time apparently I really loved it, and it made me cry really hard. Oh, and then I had Still Missing, which I think is Chevy Stevens. I could be wrong on that. I don't know, but Still Missing, I gave that one a 3.75. This is a girl, she's like a realtor, and she gets taken at an open house, which scares the shit out of me. And it goes from her POV to other POVs, like while she's taken, and like what happens to her while she's like kept at the secluded house. And I really enjoyed it. So that one is a must read for sure. Ruth Ware, Turn of the Key, I gave this one a 3.75 also, which I actually really like this one. I think about it kind of a lot. And it's a nanny who stays at like a smart house basically to nanny these kids, and the parents leave for like a month, so all these weird things keep happening in the smart house, like things turn on by themselves, things get locked, she thinks it's haunted, the kids are crazy, one of the kids ends up being dead, so she's blamed obviously. It's told from like the nanny's letters that she was writing to an attorney from jail, so you're like reading in the past. But I don't love how it ended. It's like left up in the air, you don't really know what happened, but it did have a cool twist, I will say. I did like it though. And Last for March was The Perfect Child, which I gave a 3.5 out of 5. I was really excited to read this. If you've seen Orphan, the movie Orphan, it was kind of giving that, where they adopt a kid and she ends up being absolutely insane. The dad takes the kid's side, and it causes problems with the parents, like the marriage, because there's another kid involved. And I had a lot of high hopes going into this, and it didn't really like live up to the expectations, because like the decisions that the parents made and the decisions the dad made, I was like, okay, like if the kid is that insane, you need to take better precautions than what they were doing. It was just a little dumb in my opinion. April, I read all of 2 measly books. I don't know what I was doing in April, but I was not feeling the reading apparently. And one of them was on Kindle, so it was Run on Red. I actually really enjoyed this book. I'm not gonna lie. Don't know why I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I assume it had to do with the ending, which I can't really remember the ending. It's like one of my biggest fears. It was 2 girls on the way to a party, like out in the middle of nowhere, and they noticed that a car, like a truck, like a sketchy truck is following them. They get run off the road, and the guys are like chasing them through the forest. It's very scary and like spooky, but I don't know why I rated it a 3.5. So apparently the ending sucks. The next flop of the year was Her Perfect Family. I gave this one a 1.5 also. This one, it was the most plot holy, did not make sense thriller that I read of the year. It was absolutely all over the place. Would never recommend this one. Okay, May. 3 books. That's it. I had like kind of a lot of bad books in a row, but this one is my least favorite book of the year. I give it a 1 out of 5. I talked about this one in many other videos too, where I just hated the 2 main characters. The man hated women and he thought he was like super hot, but the author was constantly saying he was chubby. And then the woman main character thought she was so fat all the time and just never wanted to eat, had mega eating disorder in every single chapter, and then would date this guy who treated her like crap, and then went to go see a therapist to like work on it, got past it, broke up with him, and like a year later was like, I'm gonna get back with him, and just started the cycle over again. It was exhausting, hated it, do not recommend. Then a little horror novel, Little Paranoias. I think I gave this like a 2 out of 5. It's not like it was bad. It's just hard to rate really little books because there's not a whole lot to go off of, and this book is filled with mini stories, so there's like 10 stories in this. I was expecting to be scared. I wasn't at all. They were just kind of weird. There were like maybe 2 or 3 that I enjoyed, but the rest were just kind of weird. And then last, One Italian Summer. I actually really enjoyed this one. It had to do with this woman who goes to Italy for the summer to like find herself, and she ends up seeing a woman who looks just like her mom at her age, and it literally is her mom at her age, but she like spends the summer with her mom at a younger version, and then I don't even remember how it ends. It's just a very much like finding yourself type of vibe. Very sweet. Okay, now we're in June. I read Meet Me at the Lake, which I gave a 4.25. I actually really like this. I hear a lot of people didn't like this book. She and this guy like met one day. He was working in the cafe that she owned or something, I don't know. And they met and spent the day together. And they said to each other, we'll meet in a year from now. And if we meet, then we'll know like it's meant to be, basically. Like if we meet at the spot, if we both show up, then we'll be together. Like dumb idea, sure, but I ate it up. And then he didn't show, so she moved on, and then it takes place 10 years later when he like shows up at her job because he's working on something again with her there, and they like rekindle their love, and they find out why he never showed all those years ago. And then I was on my Harry Potter kick, so I was reading Prisoner of Azkaban. 5 out of 5, obviously. Okay, and then I Found You. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It's a woman who has a beach house, bunch of kids, single mom. She randomly comes upon like a homeless man sitting on the beach in front of her house. Or she thinks he's like homeless. He sat out there like all day in the rain, and she's like, well, he must be on drugs or something. She goes out to help him. For some reason, brings him into her home with all of her children there. So like that never would actually happen in real life, but she did. And he's like young and hot apparently, and they like spark up a romantic relationship. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember how this one ends either. So I must have liked the ending if I gave it a 4 out of 5. I'm sure there was a twist in there somewhere. Let me swap out my books. Also, there's like a very pretty obvious point in the year where my reading taste changes like a full 180. We'll see if you can spot the difference. This is for July. I read Goblet of Fire. 5 out of 5. I don't know what you want from me. I love Harry Potter. 5 out of 5. And then I got into the Addicted series, so I read Addicted to You, which I was expecting to be like obsessed with Addicted series. I wasn't as obsessed with Lily and Lo as I thought I was going to. Like I liked their story a lot, and I gave it a 4 out of 5, but I definitely... How am I still out of breath? All I did was get off the bed. I definitely like the Calloway sister books better, but I still really liked it, and I think it's definitely worth the read. And then I got into some of my favorites. So I read Haunting Adeline, which is a 4.75. I read Satan's Affair. Actually, I didn't read it in that order. Then I read Hunting Adeline, 5 out of 5. Actually, no, I gave Hunting Adeline a 6 out of 5. And then I read Satan's Affair, which I gave a 4 out of 5. And these are some of my favorite books ever. Check trigger warnings because they're clearly bad. I feel like they're pretty known for being bad, but I don't need to talk about them because I talk about them in most of my videos. So love these. I will go to my grave saying how much I love these. Okay, and then I read Ricochet, the second in the Addicted to You series, which I gave this one a 4.25. I like this one a lot better actually, which I think it's because Lo isn't in it as much, the main guy, and it focuses a lot on Lily and her story, and it shows a lot of Reich and Daisy too. They're one of my favorites, so really liked Ricochet. And then one of my other least favorite reads of the year is Hyde. I gave this one a 2 out of 5, and it took me I think 3 months to read this book. There is a chapter in here that's 80 pages. The author will change POV from one paragraph to the next in a chapter. Hate that. It had a lot of potential. This company puts on a hide and seek game for adults, and it takes place in an abandoned music park. Oh my god. It takes place in an abandoned amusement park. At first you like think it's really spooky, scary, and like something bad obviously is happening, or it wouldn't be a horror novel, but it turns into like being a literal monster that a cult has to release every year or 10 years or something like that to kill these people in order for them to live. It's just the dumbest shit I've ever read. Sorry, Kirsten White. Now we're in August. I started with Addicted for Now, which I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember the plot of this book. Like, I know it's about Lillian Lowe, and she's thick, so like apparently there was a lot in it, and I don't remember what happens in it because they all kind of start to run together. All of Lillian Lowe's stories kind of run together. But I gave it a 3.75, which again, I think it's just because I don't love Lillian Lowe's relationship that much, and I think it's like super not healthy. I want the best for them, I really do, but they're just not my favorite. But then I went into Kiss the Sky, and I love this book. I love Rose and Connor so much. I gave this one a 4.25. They're like one of my favorite couples ever. Rose is so like the smart badass bitch, and Connor is like, I'm smarter than you and we will fight. Like, they fight in French. I love that. I think that's hilarious. There's so much drama. I love it. I ate this up. I love Kiss the Sky. And then I read a Kindle books called Scream for Us. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. It is basically just a smutty Halloween book. I don't know why I read it in August. I don't know. It's basically just like this girl gets gangbanged. It's like giving pucking around, but Halloween. It's good. I'm not gonna lie. It was kind of good. And then I read The Family Upstairs. I gave a 3 out of 5. Another Lisa Jewell book. It definitely wasn't my favorite. It kind of felt like I was reading a history book. Like, it wasn't giving thriller, it was giving more like historical fiction. If you like cult books, then you'd probably like this one. I didn't hate it for sure. Very interesting, but I was a little bored sometimes. And then I read Happy Place. I gave this a 4.25. Everyone was like eating this up, like 5 out of 5, favorite book of the year. I just didn't do that for me. I really liked it. I liked the message and how like growing up and your friendships change from like teenage friendships to adulthood friendships, and it's hard to keep them because everyone's schedule is different and you grow apart and whatnot. And I really liked that aspect. It just, like, it was a really good book and I loved it, but it definitely wasn't like my favorite of all time. But definitely worth a read. My favorite book of the year, I read Fourth Wing. Oh my god, this book changed me. It changed me fundamentally. It turned me into a fantasy reader. I can't say enough things about this. I gave it a 6 out of 5. I've talked about this probably in every single freaking video I've ever done, so I'm not gonna talk about it. But 6 out of 5, my favorite book of the year. And then because I got into fantasy, I started ACOTAR. Oh my god, these books have also changed me. I gave ACOTAR 4.25 out of 5. I don't know why. Everyone was like, just get past the first book. The first book's not good. You're gonna hate it, but get past it. I loved this book. Of course, I don't love Tamlin. I did when I was reading it. I liked Tamlin. And like the end, the last like 50 pages with all the trials and stuff under the mountain, ate it up. Oh my god, I loved this book. And knowing what was to come in the second book, I couldn't wait to get there. I was eating up any interaction we got with the other main character. I loved it. Except I didn't start the next one right away for some reason, apparently. But I did read Divine Rivals, and I really liked this one. I gave this a 4.25 also, because I really liked the magic part of this. They were writing on magic typewriters to each other, but the whole idea that they were enemies to lovers, or like rivals to lovers, just didn't hit as far as I wanted it to. Like, they weren't giving enemies. It was more of like, we're flirting at work. It just didn't give I hate you, and I like when it's I hate you to I love you. I wanted way more romance and way less like war talk. It was big on war talk. Still really liked it, and I'm excited for the second one. That's it for August. Now I have September. It's a little bit smaller of a month, but I started with The Last Word. I gave this a 3.75 out of 5. I was so excited for this one, and the idea of this really reeled me in, because it's a girl who lives a 1-star review on a book, and the author starts stalking her. I just thought it was so cool, and I was ready to be spooked because she's alone in a house, but it just kind of fell flat. I'm not gonna lie, which is sad because I love Taylor Adams, and his other book, No Exit, loved it, but it just felt a little too quick. Also, he started stalking her chapter 3 almost, and not even in the slow burn type of stalk. It was like, no, I'm coming into the house right now, you're gonna need to run because 50 pages in and I'm gonna try and kill you, that kind of vibe. And I just wanted it to go a little slower. I mean, definitely worth the read. Some people really loved it and gave it 5 stars, so don't take my word for it. Then I got into A Court of Mist and Fury, which shockingly, I gave this one a 4.75. I did not give it 5 stars just because there was a little bit in here where I was kind of bored. I hate to admit it, I really do, but I was a little bored in here. Do I eat up Rysand? Yes, I love him. I love Feyre. I love the Bat Boys. Oh my god. I love everything about them. I couldn't in my heart give it 5 stars when I was bored for like literally 100 pages, but I would reread it. Like, a 4.75 is really good, obviously. And then I got the amount of good books I read in a row. Then I read Manacled. Okay, at first I rated it a 4.75, and I think like going back, the amount of times I talked about this book, think about this book, I feel like it deserves to be a 5-star. The only reason it wasn't a 5-star is because I didn't love the ending, but I loved it. I read part 1, part 2, reread part 1, and then part 3, which is the only way you have to do it. If you do not do the part 1 reread, it is not the same story at all. If you love Harry Potter, you would love this. Like, there's nothing to not love about this. It's completely worth the read. And then I don't have this one either. Oh, yes, I do. What am I thinking? Literally, don't look at my bookshelf. It's so fugly right now because all the books are taken off. But I read Flawless. I don't know why I thought I didn't have this, which is the first of the Chestnut Spring series, and I didn't love it. He kind of gave me the ick sometimes. Their sexy scenes did not do it for me. I feel like I'm gonna like the other stories better, so I might keep reading them on Kindle. Okay, that was it for September. Now I have to move books again. Alright, we're in the last 3 months of the year. I read some of the most books I've ever read in these 3 months. So like, clap for me. But to start off October, one of the best thrillers I've ever read, The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. And I've read every other Riley Sager book, and this one is by far the best. Like, it's so good. So many twists and turns. He did a really good job of tying everything in together, and it all made sense. There were no plot holes. And then I read Carving for Kara, whatever the frick you want to say. I gave that one a 1 out of 5. Did not like it. They tried to do too much smut. It was super non-consenty. That's just not the vibe. Haunting and Hunting Adeline do the whole consensual non-consent in a perfect way. This one thought they were doing it and they weren't at all. It was just straight up non-consent. So didn't love it, not here for it, wouldn't recommend it. And then I read No Place to Hide, which was another Halloween novella, and I gave it a 2 out of 5. It was kind of the same vibe, slightly better, but not the best. Still a little non-consensual in some parts. And like the main character was just really mean to the girl. And I was like, why would she be hooking up with him? Like, it was just the dumbest thing ever. Then next was You've Lost a Lot of Blood, tiny horror novel. I actually didn't mind it. I was definitely confused, for sure. I was just kind of going along with whatever the author was saying because I didn't feel like trying to overthink it. I gave it a 3 out of 5 though. It was very like an average horror. Not a whole lot to say because of how confusing it is. There's a video game creator and he like gets injured or something, so he's bedridden. A girl comes in to finish the story for him on the video game, and weird things start happening at the house, and she has to bring her little brother because she basically is his guardian, and he like goes missing for a little bit. It's okay. It's very weird. I'll say that. In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. I gave this a 3.25. Typically, I don't love stories that have friend group of 6 are back in town and 10 years ago one went missing and they're all back to figure it out. Like, I feel like that's such an overdone trope. Kind of over that, but this one was really good. It ended up being not who I thought it was. Like, I really liked some of the characters, but I didn't like the main character. It was okay. Then I read The Outsiders just because I feel like this is a book that I should have read in school and I never did. Like, I probably was supposed to and just didn't read it because I didn't like reading in school, and I really liked it. I cried. It's a classic. Like, of course you should read this. I gave this one a 4.25. I went into it like not really even knowing what it was about and absolutely loved it. Ate it up. So of course you should read it. Learn about Pony Boy. Then I read another Frida book. I read not The Outsiders. I read The Coworker. Oh my god, Logan just got home. Oh shoot. Stinky. Hold on. Had a slight interruption. We're back. The Coworker. I gave this one a 3 out of 5. I actually really liked it. The story would stick with me. Like, it doesn't blend in with all the other stories I've read, but it was a very average story. Like, a coworker goes to work and her like cubicle mate isn't there and she's always on time, and her phone rings, so she answers it and it's the girl and she's like, help me. She's like, what? And then it hangs up. And then it turns into her being a suspect because the cop like finds all these emails saying how she like bullies her at work and like hates her and all this stuff. It like goes from the missing girl's emails POV, so you learn all these like terrible stories of how this girl treated her, and then it goes to her POV and it's like the nice girl, so you don't know how she actually treats her. And it's very good. It has a really cool plot twist at the end, but 3 out of 5. Very good, but very mid. Okay, so now I'm in November. Big fantasy month. So I read Once Upon a Broken Heart. I've talked about this before. Didn't love it. I gave it a 2 out of 5. I didn't like her writing style, didn't like the characters, didn't like a whole lot. That being said, I'll read the next ones just because I have them, so like why not? And I heard the second one's the best one, but it just fell short. Didn't love it. Then I read The Naturals, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5. I ate it up. I love the story. I love the characters. I really, really loved it. I think about this book all the time. I'm almost done with the series. I think so far the first one's my favorite because just like introducing them and learning all of them, and it's cutie and there's flirting and it's just so cute. I love it. Then I reread Fourth Wing and I still gave it a 6 out of 5. Ate it up more than the first time I did. And then I read One Dark Window, which I didn't absolutely love as much as everyone said I was going to. I ended up giving it a 3.75 out of 5 just because I liked the ending. But part 1 was the most confusing crap I've ever read. There were so many different plots. This is a perfect example of an author trying to do too many plots at once and trying to tie them together. It just didn't work for me. The end, when she was just working with the one plot, was better, but still, like, I didn't love it. I even tried to start the second one audiobook and I just didn't care. Then I read like a little Christmas novella called Trick Shot. It's basically about a threesome. That's about it. It's cute. I gave it a 3 out of 5. And there's not much else to say. Then I read The Locked Door by Frida McFadden, and I really liked that one too. I ended up giving that one a 3.75 out of 5. I really liked that one. It's probably one of my top Frida reads. And it's basically this woman who's a doctor, and 2 of her old patients go missing / killed. So she is a suspect because obviously there's no connection between the 2 other than the doctor. So she has to like work her way out of that and like figure out. So I filmed the rest of this, obviously. Came over to turn my phone off. Black screen. She died. The amount of times, it's almost comical, the amount of times I've talked to my phone with it just not on. It teaches me patience. So we're gonna continue where I was. I was in the middle of talking before I was interrupted. Anyways, I was in the middle of the locked door. So she's the suspect because they're obviously her patient's the only connection. So she has to like figure out what's going on and try not to go down because her dad is in jail, I believe, for being a serial killer also. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think so. And so they're like, well, apple doesn't fall far from the tree, babe. And then there's just like, you know, some twists and turns. Then I read ACOWAR. 5 out of 5. This book was so good. Oh my god, this book was so good. Leaps and bounds over A Court of Mist and Fury, in my opinion. This is the best one so far. I have not read Silver Flames. I'm reading it right now, but this one is so good. The plot, unmatched. The end, I was literally rolling on the floor, crying, throwing up, coughing. I was heaving. I was crying so hard. The whiplash, the whole plot from start to finish. Obsessed. Have no bad things to say. And then I quickly just read Court of Frost and Starlight, which I loved this. I gave it a 4.25 just because I have a hard time rating novellas 5 stars because there's not a whole lot to it. But amazing. Really loved what she did with Feyre and Rysand. Love what she did, giving us little snippets of Cassian and Nesta leading into their book. And then I loved getting the different POVs. And then to end November, I read Does It Hurt? Because I loved obviously Haunting and Hunting Adeline are 2 of my favorite books. So I wanted to read another H.D. Colton book and see if I loved it like just as much. Luna just ran into the wall. I gave it a 3.75. I don't know how I feel, like truly feel about this book. It's interesting because the plot was okay. Basically this girl is like a runaway, like she's running away from the law. She goes to Australia. She basically like hooks up with these men and then steals their identity so she can continue to be on the run. She does it to this one guy in Australia. Of course, super hot, shocker. And he catches on, like he catches her before she has the time to like fully leave and like tricks her into coming onto his boat. Before they like have a chance to like just go back to land, a storm shipwrecks them to this like little island with a lighthouse where a creepy old man lives in it. And it's like haunted, or like you don't know if it's haunted or not because like they hear weird sounds in the middle of the night and he's really weird. He like locks them in their room at night and they have a curfew of like 7 p.m. They're like, but it's a 1-bed trope. We love that. The sex is good, but there's something off about the book to make it not my favorite. Okay, so that wrapped up November, and I'm gonna do December quicker because I also have a December wrap up that I want to do where I'm gonna talk more in detail about the books. So, and this is my longest month that I've ever had. I was really proud of myself, not gonna lie. Like, big pat on the back, everyone clap for me because I read a mega amount of books that I've never done before, and they're all huge. Starting off, I read Iron Flame. I gave this a 4.75. Amazing, loved. I jumped into a Pucking Around series, so I read the little prequel novella that one night. 4.25, ate it up. I love Jake, love this little story. Little teeny tiny 72 pages, loved it. Then immediately jumped around. Immediately jumped around to Pucking Around. I read this in like 48 hours. railed through it, and I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. All I have to say is I love it. I love these characters to death. And then I quickly read the little novella afterwards, Pucking Ever After Volume 1, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. Amazing. Love the little extra stories. Then I jumped into Light Lark. Didn't do it for me. Didn't like the story that much. Honestly, I didn't end up caring about any of the characters. Hated the love that she chose. Too many rules. Just too much for me. Wreck the Halls, another one I didn't love. 2 out of 5. I've talked about this before also. He just gave me the ick. Didn't do it for me. Killer Instinct. Love this book. 4 out of 5. Followed Dean and more of his backstory, and I really loved that. I want to talk about it more, but I won't. I'll talk about it in a different video, but 4 out of 5. Liked the first one more than this one, but still loved this one. Jumped into the next Pucking Around, which was Pucking Wild, which was a reverse age gap, so love that. And it was forced proximity. Love that. I gave this one a 4.25. Ate it up. Loved it. Of course I did. And then I immediately read basically part 2 of this. I don't have it with me, but it was Pucking Ever After Volume 2. Loved it. I keep saying I think I gave, as if I don't have the ratings literally right here. Not I think. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Then I read All In. This is when I jumped into my... Why do I keep saying jumped? This is when I started my readathon. So these are all the 24-hour books that I read. So I read All In, the 3rd in the Natural series. I gave this a 4 out of 5. Ate it up just as much. Did I? Yeah, 4 out of 5. The plot twist at the end, amazing, love it. And this one followed Sloane, which is my favorite character. So I really like this one. Then I read The Ex-Hex, 2.5 out of 5. Didn't eat it up as much as I thought I would. Very cute, but like the plot was kind of dumb. And it was really funny. I will say that. It was really funny. Oh my god, this is the last book of the year. Drum roll, please. As if you can't see it, but drum roll. I read the next Addicted Calloway Sister series, Hot House Flower. This one followed Reich and Daisy. So they are an age gap. Love an age gap again. Not much else to say. I just love their story a lot. I gave this one a 4.5. I rated this story higher than Kiss the Sky, but I still don't know if I like Rose and Connor or Lily. Oh my god, I keep saying Lily. I don't know if I like Rose and Connor or Reich and Daisy more still, but I like this story better. That's all 77 books this year. Thanks for watching me ramble on book after book after book. And I hope that you read some of my 5 out of 5s because I think you should. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my December wrap up.